Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Board Game Mechanics. I'm Katie, and with me, as always, is...
Hey, everybody, what's going on? It is Jason.
Hey, I know you probably thought, oh, man, they went from every other week, and now it's going to be every 2 weeks, and it's going to be a once a month podcast. But no, just a little bit later. Things have been crazy in the fiscal year push. At my work, we had cheer games, which that season's almost over. I'm ready for October.
Yeah, I like cheering. It's fine, but it does get tiring. Not that I'm even doing it, but it's still tiring.
We're just not like super scheduled people. Like there are some people out there I know that their kids are in multiple sports and they're like, okay, someone's got practice here this night, and then someone else at the same time is going here, and then there's a game here. And I'm glad we don't do that because we can't handle it. We're not those kind of people.
Yeah, we have a kid doing one thing and it's like the end of the world.
We're like, this might be too much. What can you do? But we are here. Better late than never. I mean, we're just pretty okay. What can we do about it?
Nothing.
But let's talk about some news, because there's some pretty cool things out there, and my correspondent in the field happens to be a Red Raven fanboy, so he said, you really should talk about the newest Red Raven campaign, and that would be Creature Caravan. Now, I've not played a Red Raven game that I can think of.
Yeah, we played one.
Oh, we did?
That little artifacts one where you're rolling dice and putting the dice on the cards.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
I didn't
Not a
like
great
that.
one. Not like one of their better ones, but yeah, it is one.
My favorite thing about them, and I see them in the store and want to pick them up and want to play them. I want to play them. The artwork, I love it so much. And this Creature Caravan is no exception. So this apparently is another game in the land, the Elysium. I guess it's a whole realm thing they've got going on. Couldn't tell you. But
yeah, it's the near and far world or whatever.
Yeah, so you are there's some zombies coming and some weird things into Estre, I don't know. And you are going to try and help these caravans of creatures, like inhabitants, get out. So they're going to travel over lands. The cool thing is it's like a simultaneous dice placement game, which is cool. There's a lot of neat stuff in this. So there's like a map where you're moving your caravan across. You're also playing cards in front of you then. And like these tableaus like give you powers. You can place dice on them to activate them, which I think is really cool to get stuff. You also are like fighting off things that are attacking your caravan, which is pretty cool. It looks like a pretty cool game. It looks pretty interesting. I mean, of course, I love the artwork, so I really like that. You're going across little terrain. It's like almost like a fantasy version of the Oregon Trail in kind of basic looks to it, but I know there is more to that because there's fighting and movement and kind of tableau building and dice rolling, so lots of different mechanics going on here, which I think is pretty sweet. Another thing, as part of this campaign, they also have a special edition of Islebound, which I know some people like. It's the Emerald edition. So you get a new resource. There's some revised town actions, revised building deck. Looks interesting. I've also not played Islebound, but it's pretty. You could also get the World of Elysium role-playing game in this campaign. So lots of cool stuff. So if you like Red Raven games, or if you're looking to get into some of their games, this Gamefound campaign, not Kickstarter, Gamefound campaign might be for you. So check it out. There's not 8 days left on that campaign. If you just want to try Creature Caravan, if you just want to back that, it is $50, which is not a bad deal. If you want all the stuff they're offering right now, new, like the Islebound Emerald Edition and the World of Elysium, like there's a couple other things. Everything is $150. So for all the different games and stuff, it actually is probably pretty reasonable. So I'm pretty proud of what Red Raven is doing here and Ryan Lockett as far as costs go. So that is Creature Caravan.
This might be... I actually have been wanting to try that Islebound one. It looks pretty cool. Like
yeah.
I don't know much about it, but it looks like it's a cool pick up and deliver game with the awesome Red Raven art. So $150 is not a bad way to go to get into that, maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't... Did you say if this was a big box game or is this a little game? Is this like Sleeping God size or what?
I don't know. Is Sleeping God super big or regular big?
Sleeping Gods is like a Ticket to Ride size box. It's a pretty big game.
No, I think these are square. So 150, the 150 pledge is you get the game Creature Caravan, you get the game Islebound Emerald Edition, you get the role playing game, and a couple other little side things.
Oh, that's cool. It's not bad.
Yeah, but you can also just add pick up one of the games or whatever out of there. So.
Yeah, I mean, that's not bad. I mean, I would like to try more of their games. I played 2, the Artifacts game and Deep Vents. I played that with Mike. But I've never played any of the big box games, and I'd like to try some, so eventually maybe.
Yes, I would like to try Near and Far, for sure. The next game, we're back over to Kickstarter, out of Gamefound. That place confuses me, so I can't stay in there too long. Old Kickstarter... I think a theme that is not covered often enough, and that is cheese. So the game is Fromage. And if you don't speak French, subtitle, cheese. So in the game Fromage, you are a French cheesemaker in the early 20th century. So you're making, aging, and selling your artisanal cheeses. So you're trying to become the most prestigious cheesemaker in France. I love it. Right? Like, oh my gosh, I love cheese. I like all different kinds of cheese. And a game about making cheese, it's great. I mean, everyone's like wine. We got a bunch of wine making games. We do not have much cheese making games. So, Fromage has simultaneous worker placement game, and there's a rotating board. It's crazy. What's also interesting is it was designed by the designers of Search for Planet X and developed and published by the Canvas guys.
Okay. All right. Let's bring me back.
What an interesting combo, right? So the game board is on a Lazy Susan and it features these wedges. Haha, cheese suited there. And there's like little, so it's slot inserts and stuff goes underneath them and like changes up the cheese and stuff. Crazy town. Like, it's cool. There's tons of replayability with that because you can like switch up the cheeses all the time and the wedges. Amazing. There's like worker meeples that sit on top of cheeses. I love it. I mean, come on. There's also like cow meeples and sheep meeples, sheeples and cowple mooples. I don't know.
Mooples.
And goatles. I don't know. And like little barns and stuff. Oh, I love the wood tokens, the structures and the fruit. That's so awesome. So the player or the main board rotates around. And then everyone's got like asymmetric player boards, or you also can like draft like your abilities, which is kind of cool too. So that's like even more stuff, right? So there's 2 editions. There's one that doesn't have a Lazy Susan and one that comes with Lazy Susan. I'm like, what the what? Of course you want the Lazy Susan. So it spins around. So what's really kind of interesting is you take your workers and you're going to put them on these different quadrants of the board, these different wedges. And like each wedge kind of has like a different mechanic going on. Like in one of them, it's kind of you're working for area control of different like regions of France cheeses, it looks like. Or another one, it's like a festival. You're trying to like connect the groups of your cheeses. There's another, I was trying to think of all the ones. Another one where you're trying to like fulfill orders for tables, like people at a restaurant that want different, at the bistro that want different kinds of cheese. And so then everyone will like place their workers, and then the board gets rotated. And so every worker that you can see that's facing you that has like, you can see this check mark on the front of them, those workers fire off. So it has like a almost like Zolkin like mechanic that after a certain time period, your workers like are activated when they come around. It's just crazy. So you're scoring in like these different quadrants with these different ways of scoring. And then like what you're getting and picking up off the main cheese board, you're like building structures to like make your creamery better and get like abilities. You're going to get milk from your livestock, your sheeples, your mooples, your goatles. I don't know. Your fruit, so you can do like jams or specialty cheeses, and like you're fulfilling orders. Like it just seems like there's so many different ways to like get points, which y'all know I love multi-pass to victory. I mean, I don't know if that's how this will work out, but so many different little things. And because there's a lot of like simultaneous action, it's not really super long. It's like super condensed. It says like that it's really about 40-ish minutes, but it has like this bigger Euro feeling because of all the different kinds of methods that it uses. I'm really intrigued by this. If you're also intrigued by this, check out Fromage. There are 9 days left on this Kickstarter. If you want like the straight up basic pledge, $35. If you want the Lazy Susan mat, $49, which I also feel is super reasonable.
Yeah, I was looking at it while you were talking. It does seem really cheap for like what comes in this box.
Yeah.
That $49 one has like 100 wooden pieces in it.
I know.
Yeah, that's great. It doesn't come with the Lazy Susan though, just to be clear. It's just a mat to go on the Lazy Susan. But
what?
Yeah, it doesn't come with a Lazy Susan. It's a Lazy Susan mat.
It says limited edition with Lazy Susan.
That's not what it says in the pledge.
Oh, well, that's what it says on the thing.
It says Fromage limited edition with neoprene Lazy Susan mat.
Yes. You'll get a play mat to put under the board. It allows for a one-finger push.
Oh, okay. I was thinking like an actual Lazy Susan like we have.
No. It turns like one.
Got it. Yeah, either way, that aside, this is a good deal for this game. The box art's really cool, too. I like the way that looks.
Yeah, I don't love the artwork in it, to be honest, but
I like it.
I think the game seems cool. Yeah, Fromage.
It does seem cool. Legit.
Yeah. And finally, a game about animals I hate, which has caused much controversy. However, the publisher of this game is called Sea Cow Games. And let me tell you, manatees are my spirit animal. So I automatically am inclined towards this game. And the art is Andrew Bosley, so I freaking love it. And this game is called Flock Together. It's a game about chickens. I hate chickens. I hate them. I hate birds. I know some of you like birds, and that's okay. I don't trust your judgment. That's okay. You can like birds. I do not. But what I see from this game, I like. Even though this game is a cooperative game. But you are chickens, and you are like fighting to live your life independently. You want to have your own like little established, I don't know if it's a town or if it's just like a settlement, but you're chickens, you want to live free. Chickens just want to be free. But since you're chickens, like there are these villains who are like your chickens, your food. So you choose a chicken. There's like 11 different chickens, and the chickens have really hilarious names like Annie Yoakley. What else is there? Wyatt Chirp. Agatha Christie. Just hilarious. And they have like a little spiral bound player book that you use. Sherlock Holmes. And like you've got player powers in them. The character book is spiral, and so you can you got a backstory in there, It keeps all like the upgraded forms of your characters together. Really cool. Then you've got 10 predators, and they're funny. Also funny names like Owl, Capone. What's another? I was trying to think. Professor Moriarty. That's just funny. I just think it's funny.
They're punny.
They're very punny. So you've got these guys. So there's like, so the cool thing about this is, and it's going to reflect in the price though, instead of having like, Kickstarter goals, like, oh, we're going to unlock this goal or this stretch goal. They just give you the upgraded components, which I know Jason is not great. It doesn't love, but dude, the silkscreen tokens, the wooden health tokens, the chicken eggs that are made of heavy resin and match colors that chickens actually lay, the cheeples. That's what they call their chicken meeples. Cheeples. I love it. There's like a cool first player token. There's a weather vane token. There's resource bowls. The box is cool. Like it's pimp, right? So you take a chicken. It's got your own abilities. As chickens, you're going to like look for food, and there's like food tokens and cards. You're going to lay eggs. You're going to go from being a little chick to like a big chicken. And when you're a big chicken, you're going to use your resource. You're going to attack these foes. Sometimes they're just like grubs, or sometimes they're like Moriarty. And so you're going to work to the team to defeat them and use your abilities. You might take hits. It's not good, but you're trying to fight away the invaders. And oh my gosh, the artwork, like legit, the artwork itself is so great. I'm just so intrigued by this game. It looks really fun. The layout of the board, your player like books, your player board. I am super intrigued. So if you like cooperative games, if you like chickens, if you like Andrew Bosley art, check out Flock Together. 11 days left, and there's only one edition, but it is pimp, and it's $79.
Yeah, this does sound interesting. I do appreciate the one pledge on Kickstarter, but I also get irritated by it, because then if I don't want all that fancy stuff, tough, I guess, I have to deal with it. But Andrew Bosley has amazing art. I do like chicken games. Like Jim Hen's is fantastic, so I don't mind the chicken theme. I think it's pretty funny, but yeah, seems kind of interesting. I'd give it a go if somebody backed it and wanted to play it. Well,
and I think the other thing about the thing that they're trying to do, I think, with this one pledge, then there's no FOMO, like fake FOMO. Like, oh my gosh, if I just pay a little bit more, what if I never get this edition? Or what if that never comes in something else? And it's like, you know what? Everybody gets the same thing.
That is true.
And it's good stuff. So, yeah, I think it looks fun. So those are my bits of news for this week.
All right, so let's talk about a couple games that we both played. Now, I've played a little bit. I played some more games other than this, but I wanted Katie to be able to contribute to this as well, not just have to hear me, blather on. So we're going to talk about a couple games we played a few weeks ago. They're still relevant because we haven't talked about them, so here we go. So the first one we're going to talk about is a game from Lucky Duck Games. It is just some cards and a D12. That's what the players have, and it's called King of 12. And this is a game where everybody has 7 different cards, and you have a D12 die that you're going to roll to get started. And what you're trying to do is you're trying to have the most points over the course of a round to be the first player to win 2 rounds. And the way the game works is on your turn, you're going to pick one of your cards from your hand, face down. Everybody has the same cards. Face down, everybody's going to reveal. And then you're going to do the action of that card. If anybody played the same card, they cancel each other out. Otherwise, you're going to do what your card says. Some of them will manipulate your dice. Some of them will manipulate other people's dice. Some of them will change it from high score on your die to low score wins the round. And you're trying to just do whatever you can to finagle your die to earn points. If dice have similar values, they cancel each other out, and that'll cause other people to maybe have the highest value instead. It's a pretty simple game. It's just simultaneous action. dice manipulation, trying to score the most points over a couple rounds to see who can win 2 rounds first. That's it. It was fine. I like these kind of games. They're simultaneous action selection is always fun because everybody's always playing. There's no downtime, and they usually have low rules overhead, which this one definitely did. We played a couple rounds, a couple games of it, had some fun, and moved on. And that's kind of where this one lies for me. A nice little filler game with some chaos. So, yeah, that's what I think about it. So how do you feel about King of 12?
I like games like this because it's really simple. Like, oh, I choose a card, right? But then it's like, oh, what are you going to play? Well, what are you going to do? Well, how's that going to work out? Ooh, okay. I see your dice value is really high. So you're probably going to play this one. And it's like that kind of outthinking, outsmarting. I'm like, oh, well, I hope no one plays this. Well, oh, what if they do? Well, or I'm counting them to play this. And if they don't, I'm totally busted. I like those kind of games because, again, it's so simple. Choose a card. But choices are key, and there's a lot to think through. And the play can swing wildly. Like, I think in this one, someone else was really ahead, like the first round, and I was like, oh crap, I don't know what I'm doing. And then I think I won at the end.
Yeah, it can go. The tables can turn really quickly.
Yeah, like, and it's not super
crazy.
high scoring either. So it's not like, oh, we got blown in the water. It's like, well, I got 9 points or whatever, and you had 3. It's not bad at all. But it was fun. I did enjoy it.
Yeah, it's definitely got that Prisoner's Dilemma thing where you think that I know you're going to do this, so I'm going to do this instead because you think I'm going to do this other thing. That kind of deal, which is always entertaining. All right, so next game we're going to talk about, and the last one we're going to talk about today, is a game that I found at Half Price Books, and I only picked it up because of who the artist is, and that's Weavers in Santiago. I love Weavers in Santiago, and then I also know the designer is the same designer from Quacks, so I figured I'd give it a shot, and the game is Fuji, and this is a cooperative game with limited communication. What we're trying to do is we're rolling dice that have pips and colors on different faces. And you're trying to use those dice to move your meeple through these different cards to get away from a volcano. So you have to, like if I'm moving to a card and it says I need blue die faces, I want to try to have the highest value of blue that I can compared to the opponent or the player to my left and to my right. They're not opponents, they're teammates. Left and to my right without really talking about what my dice are. So we're going to roll, we'll do some communication, we'll do some silent dice manipulation, all that kind of stuff. And then we're going to reveal and see how all that plays out. And you're trying to move your meeple as far away as you can because at the end of every round, the volcano is going to erupt Mount Fuji and it's going to try to burn you up. If it burns you up, you lose. If you make it to the village, you're safe and everybody wins. But everybody has to be at the village. I like this game. I think it's fun. It's kind of funky. It's weird. It's different. But mostly it has Weavers in Santiago art, so that's enough for me to like it. But it was enjoyable. It's kind of hard to teach because it's a lot of, you can't talk here, so you got to kind of walk through a round to really figure out what's going on. But once everybody gets the grasp of it, it's just rolling dice and try to have the highest of whatever you need. But I enjoyed it. It might be a little long, but again, it was our first play, so who knows. So how'd you feel about Fuji?
Yeah, every time I see this in the store, I'm instantly drawn to it because of the cover art. Like, it's so good. I don't love games that are super brutal to you when you're playing cooperatively, and I didn't feel like this one was that way.
Just dice rolling mostly.
Right, which I sort of hate because I don't like how random this is. I didn't feel like there was quite enough ways for me to manipulate dice. But maybe that would have made it too easy. I don't know. So I do like that there's communication, but not all communication. I wish there were more ways to get tools to help you. But otherwise, I mean, I thought it was pretty good. I don't want to play it all the time. I think there are some other cooperative games that I'd rather play than this one, like maybe Atlantis Rising, because it's a little more involved in some ways, and I feel like I can execute my power more often than I could in Fuji.
Yeah, that's true, yeah.
But it is much quicker, I think, than some of those games. So I don't mind it. But I wouldn't say it's like a humongous favorite at this point.
Yeah, it feels like cooperative Yahtzee almost. Like you're rolling and just trying to get different patterns of dice. But the communication, you are allowed to talk, but it's like limited. Where someone will say, I'm trying to go to blue, and they'll ask the person to their right or left, and you'll have to say, oh yeah, I think you're really good to do that. Or, I don't know, that could be a little risky. So kind of telling them, if it's really risky, you probably have a lot of blue. But you just can't say, hey, I have a lot of blue. So it's one of those like weird restrictions for the purpose of restrictions. But even if you could say, hey, I have a lot of blue, don't do that. It would probably still be hard.
Yeah, that's true.
But it kind of just makes it a little thematic, I guess. I don't know. But whatever. Yeah. So if you're not into that, probably not a game for you. But if you like Weavers in Santiago, I don't know, buy the game, stick the box on your wall as art, and have at it. So those are 2 games we played. We will move on to the feature.
All right, so our feature is something that I think I saw, in a manner of speaking, talked about on the Dice Tower. And the fact that I actually saw something, like a video or a blog or whatever about gaming, should shock you severely. So, of course, I'm going to like rip it off and make it into our own podcast. And it was about games that kind of our younger selves would have loved. So not necessarily games that existed when we were younger, but games that are, and I'm talking like, I'm thinking about myself from like 6th grade to like 9th grade, probably like the middle school years is when I'm like these games represent kind of who I was, what I was into. So these games really would have drawn me in. So Jason and I each picked 5 games. So not only do you get to hear some games, but you get to hear about us. And frankly, I don't know if it's surprising that all the games that I would have loved then, I still love now. I don't know if that says that I'm poor at character growth, but we each have 5 games that really kind of would super have appealed to our younger selves. So, Jace, get us started.
All right, so in case you don't know, which I believe I probably brought up before, or Katie's brought up to make fun of me, I was a juggalo back in the day. Now, I didn't have, like, Hatchet Man jewelry. I don't have a Hatchet Man tattoo. Yes, I did have a few shirts. I had all the CDs, and I really liked ICP, okay? So all that being said, and I drank Faygo because I was poor and Faygo was cheap. If I would have been able to have Into the Echoside back then, I would have never stopped playing that game. It's the best of things that I was into. I really liked, well, I'm not going to spoil it, but there was a card game that I really liked, and I really liked ICP. So if I would have had both of those things together, I would have left my basement even less. I would have just put on some tunes, drank some Faygo, and I would have been playing Into the Echoside probably by myself because I didn't have friends, really. So, but yes, Into the Echoside would have been a game that I would have played the mess out of. I would have made all my cousin probably would have played it with me because he was in the ICP too. He's not the smartest tack in the toolbox, but he could have still played it, I guess. We could at least looked at the art and made fun of it. So there is that. So Into the Echoside, that's a game that I love now, but I can just imagine 13-year-old me with Into the Echoside cranking some Jekyll Brothers or Great Malenko and just down on some Faygo and having a good time. So my first one is Into the Echoside.
Yeah, that would not have been on my list, that's for sure, because I didn't even hardly know who they were. But what I did play a lot, I played a lot of card games. We talk about this all the time. We're Midwesterners. I played euchre. I played hearts. I played hand and foot. I played rummy. Like every card game known to man. I love card games. Scout would have been a card game that I would have loved because of the reason why I love it now. It sings to those things that I already know, that deep Midwestern DNA in me of trick-taking games. I'm like, okay, I totally got this. And it's not even just like trick-taking. It also has like the rummy aspect, the phase 10 aspects. You know, before I knew like real games, I knew a ton of card games. And they're all kind of variations on those types of things, making runs, making sets. And that's what Scouts is about. And just doing that creatively, like getting done, like bull crap. Oh my gosh, we played that. Like BS, we played that all the time. Stuff like that. Like this Scout is like reminiscent of all of those kinds of card games that I really liked. So it would have been a really easy pickup. And, you know, we would have played it at every like youth group event. Like we played it on the bus. Cause again, small, easy to carry around, just like a deck of cards. I mean, it just is that. So it would have slipped really naturally into middle school Katie's repertoire of games. So yeah, Scout is my first choice.
Yeah, that's a good one. I probably would have liked that too, but we'll come back to that later. All right, so I've been playing in a band for a long time, since I've been 13, maybe 13, 14. And I didn't know there were games that revolved around that theme, the like metal band theme or just playing in a band theme. So one game that if I would have had when I was younger, I might not have been able to play it because it's kind of beefy, but we'll put all that aside. Is Thrash and Roll or Thrashing Dice, whatever. It's the same game. I would have played this like crazy. This is a dice placement game about being in a thrash metal band, learning to play your equipment or your instrument, getting new equipment, getting on the radio, making singles, making albums, promoting your album, and then ultimately going on tour with the biggest band in the world, Turbo. They're from Poland. I don't know what it is. But this game would have been awesome. I would have played this a lot just because I didn't know there was such a thing. I mean, we have multiple games now with this theme, but back then, I didn't know. I don't think this game was around then, but if it would have been, I would have hunted it down and found it because that would have been awesome. So my number 2 for theme alone, Thrash and Roll.
Yeah. I really try to think about what are games that would probably have been at my level, like as far as gaming goes. Like I'm not going to pick Lisboa or anything.
Yeah, I didn't think about that.
Because I was like, I would not have been accessible with that. I played a lot. I grew up playing a lot of board games. I mentioned this before. Like I played Clue, I played Trivial Pursuit, I played Categories. All of your generic like Parker Brothers kind of games. We played those constantly. I always had those. So for me, gaming is it's just a very natural part of my life. So I feel confident that I probably would have been able to play this next game because it is sort of card based. It has some set collection, pretty basic things, but the theme would have sang to young Katie, and that is Elysium. And the reason why I would have loved it then is the same reason why I love it now. I'm a huge mythology nerd. Greek mythology in particular, also Roman, they overlap. They just, changed the names and made everybody angrier. I loved mythology. In 6th grade, my English class, we did some study of the Greek myths. When I was in elementary school, I read the Iliad and was in like a competition group that created a play based on some of that. Like Achilles getting armor, and I don't, again, mythology nerd. I'm just fully laying that out there. So Elysium, card game where you've got these different factions that are based on different Greek gods and goddesses, and you are drafting cards to add to your tableau. They have powers. Sometimes they have instant powers. Sometimes they have like tappable powers. Sometimes they have powers when they go into Elysium. Sometimes they have powers at the end of the game. That is like utilizing that, understanding that, working that symbols. I don't know if I would have been good at the game when I was younger, but I think the idea would have intrigued me. Also the fact that this game I think does a really good job thematically, like the Hades faction works with bringing cards like in and out of Elysium. It's very thematic. That would have made sense to me then like it does now. So I think I would have really loved that. So my second choice, Elysium.
Yeah, this is a good one. I wasn't super into that theme, so yeah.
Not many people were.
Yeah, just nerds.
Just nerds.
All right, so my next one may be a stretch, but whatever. So I loved playing Axis and Allies and Risk when I lived with my kind of mom. Me and her son, we'd set up our computers, we'd link them together with a couple other friends, and we would play Risk against each other on the computer. Not setting up a board, no, that's too much time. Instead, we would do all this, and we would play Risk on our computer.
With a LAN party.
Yeah, all night. Yeah, they don't do that anymore, but a LAN party. And I was trying to think if there was a game now that if it would have been around when I was playing Risk, if I would really be into it. I don't really love area control anymore, but I think one that might have suckered me in would be Crusaders. It's from Renegade, I think. I don't know. But this is a game where there's a little rondel where you're moving these pieces around to take the actions. And what you're trying to do is you're trying to conquer different territories from these two different factions of tokens to build buildings and score points. So it has a similar vibe as Risk, where you're going around conquering territories, but you're not directly competing with anybody, and it's a little friendlier. But back then I wouldn't have cared about the competing, but considering I don't play those games now, I'd have a hard time picking one. But I think Crusaders, with all the Risk and Axis and Allies that I was playing, I would have been a huge fan. So my number 3 is Crusaders.
Yeah, I didn't like Axis and Allies then, and I certainly don't like it now. But what that I love now, I actually played this tonight. I played it with my friend Athena because she's like my partner in solving crime. Is Consulting Detective. Again, I go back to when I was in 6th grade. My 6th grade English class, actually, it was one of my good friends growing up. It was her mom that was my English teacher. And I remember we watched an old film strip version of The Hound of the Baskervilles. And we read The Speckled Band. And we read The Blue Carbuncle. And I was hooked on Sherlock Holmes. There was an old Disney movie that I don't know that's everybody's favorite, but The Great Mouse Detective, which is like a loosely based version on Sherlock Holmes. Loved that movie too. All these things. I love Sherlock Holmes. I love the idea of solving mysteries. Harriet the Spy was one of my favorite books as a kid. I love to solve a mystery. Now, I play Consulting Detective with friends. Now, then I would have played it by myself because I was an introvert for a long time. I don't know. It was really bizarre. I had like 2 friends, the one whose mom was my teacher and one other girl. And then that was it in school. And like whoever my teacher was always my other friend because I was a teacher's pet. Like I was.
This podcast is just getting sad now. Jeez.
Yeah, shut up. Oh, okay. Let's go back to the clowns. All right. You have no room to talk. Quit throwing stones in a glass house, buddy. Okay.
It did sound as sad when I was talking about it.
Layup party. Okay.
That did sound sad. You're right.
So yeah, I would have probably played it by myself because I love to read. Solo activity reading. And there is a lot of reading in Consulting Detective, but it's also deduction and figuring things out and relying on your wits. And I've always loved that. Always, always, always. My sister, I loved playing Clue. I loved playing Trivial Pursuit with the trivia and knowing facts. And my sister hated playing with me so much. And I always had to beg her to do it. So Consulting Detective, gosh, with the maps and the directories and all like the story, I would have loved that then as much as I do now. So Consulting Detective.
Yeah, I don't like this game. I would have hated it then and I hate it now.
I know, but you love me.
That's true. And you played it and I watched King of Queens and I was having a good time. All right, so I played a ton of trick-taking games. I played this in English class. We'd play it at lunch. I'd play at my friend's house. Yes, I did have friends. I was kidding earlier. Okay, back off me.
You said your cousin, okay?
Trick-taking was a huge, huge thing. And one trick-taking game that if I would have had back then, I probably wouldn't have ever played any other one, and that's Cat in the Box. So Cat in the Box is basic trick-taking game, high card wins. But with this one, every card can be any suit that you want. There's this little central board where when you play an 8, you take a token and you mark what color that 8 is. If you decide you don't want to play that color anymore, you have to mark it on your little player board, and now you've effectively said that your hand has none of a certain color and you can't play it anymore. So you're trying to play strategically, trick-taking rules, but you're also trying to focus on this board because you want to get certain like patterns of tokens next to each other to score points, and you're also trying to make sure that when the board starts filling up that you have a card available that you're able to play. So there's a lot more strategy involved outside of just, hey, you played an 8 and diamond, so I need to play this 10 so I can win that trick, and all that kind of thing. So this game would have just taken over. I would have loved it. I still love trick-taking. You throw me a trick-taking game and I'm going to play it. Doesn't really matter what it is, but Cat in the Box would have gone over gangbusters back when I was a wee young lad. And yeah, that's my trick-taking. Cat in the Box.
I just don't think that would have... I think I would have been frustrated by it when I was younger, to be honest.
Well, some of us could play games that were difficult when we were younger.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, some of us actually, worked on English and English classes and playing card games.
Hey, what can I say? What can I say?
Continuing on the English nerd front, I've known for a long time that my future, my life, would revolve around words and literature. And so this game, which I also really like now, is Shakespeare. Because I love Shakespeare. And you're like, Katie, surely at 12, you did not love Shakespeare. Well, let me tell you. In 1996, Leonardo DiCaprio was in Baz Luhrmann's version of Romeo and Juliet.
Here we go. It's getting sad again.
Shut up. Leo is a national treasure, okay?
He's no Arnold Schwarzenegger, but he's all right.
Oh my gosh, shut up. So that movie was everything. Like, it just was so cool. It was so different. And it was like, just obviously Romeo and Juliet is a classic story for a reason, that love and angst and loss and, hey, oh my gosh, I'll just start quoting it if I go on. And Leo was so adorable. I did not watch like Basketball Diaries or What's Eating Gilbert Grape before that. This was my first. Shut up. This was my first introduction to Leonardo DiCaprio, and I was a smitten kitten. And then Titanic, and it was all over Leo. So Shakespeare, I've been like, oh yeah, Shakespeare, it's so great. And there have been like other remakes, and actually fairly around that youngish time of me was Clueless, which is not Shakespeare, but it has these nods towards classic literature. And for a while there were a lot of remakes of kind of classic literary plots done modernly, and I was really into that. But also I've always been undaunted by early modern English. Shakespeare is not old English. It's early modern English. So like freshman year, we actually read the play, and I was like, I already know this. I already know this. Man, Leo, right here. I know this. Claire Danes. I know this. Paul Rudd, very young Paul Rudd, even though he still looks exactly the same. Paul Rudd, also in that movie. But the idea of then like staging this play and like getting these actors, like, I don't know how good I would have been at it. Maybe, now that I think about it, a lot of moving parts, but I would have wanted to stage this whole production and do all this stuff. And just because I was really getting into that, starting into the dramatic part of my life and also drama in general as well. Watching musicals and plays and things. Loved it, and I think Shakespeare would have really appealed to young Katie, but mostly Leo.
Speaking of Arnold Schwarzenegger, could you imagine if Arnold Schwarzenegger said to Juliet, "Come with me if you want to live"? That would have changed the whole story around.
Crickets.
It would have. I'm right. Yeah, I wasn't into Shakespeare. I'm still not really into Shakespeare. I do love this game, but I'm not into the theme of Shakespeare because... Speak in English, buddy. Speak English.
It is English!
No one talks like that.
Oh my gosh. Just say your last one and be done with it.
Okay, so my last one, I actually made a little bit of a change. because I was going to talk about Magic the Gathering, but I don't play that now, and I did play that back in the day. So I know that's a game that my younger self loved. My only issue with it was I was poor, so I couldn't buy any cards. So I had to use my friends' decks, and, you know, they always gave me the crappy one, so I could never win. That's how it goes.
So it's the same as now.
Correct. Same deal. But I did love that back in the day. But I think a game that I would have actually been into had I known about it then is Catan. And I played a lot of Monopoly, Clue, all those basic games. But I was also into games that were a little more in your face back then than I am now. And Catan has kind of some of that. You're rolling dice, you're getting stuff, and you're blocking people, you're blocking trades from people, you're being just an overall jerk sometimes. And I think I would have enjoyed that, and I wouldn't have cared about the length of the game, because we'd play Magic the Gathering for, 10 hours at a time. So playing a 3-hour game of Catan wouldn't have bothered me back then, because I was a kid, and who cares? I didn't have anything else to do. But, yeah, I think if I would have had any version of that, because there's some different versions, like we have Star Trek, that's the only one we have now. I would have really liked that one, because that's awesome. But I think just experiencing what a good game would have been like when I was 13 that had some similar vibes to games that I was currently playing would have been pretty cool. So I know that one's kind of a cop-out, but it's probably true. I think I would have really dug Catan when I was younger, so I had to put it on the list. So my last one is Catan.
Even Star Trek? Did you watch Star Trek then?
I did. Yeah, I watched a lot of Next Generation, but not like as much as you.
Okay. I liked it, but I'm not like a mega nerd like you.
I'm a nerd now. I wasn't then, okay?
Okay.
But I like original series because it's the best.
You're wrong, but okay. So since Jason is like, I'm going to change it up, because I thought, we're both going to talk about games we actually did play at the time that we still would play now. I was going to talk about the fact that I played D&D. I read a lot of the novels in the Dragonlance world. I love those. I still read those. They're so good. Keep hoping that someone will make a movie of like the Dragons of Autumn Twilight, like that whole kind of little trilogy. Well, I think there was maybe 4. Why won't someone make that into a TV series or a movie? Anyway, so the only problem was back then the only people I could play with were middle school boys. So like our DM was a middle school boy. So guess whose characters died in the first encounter and didn't get to play the rest of the time? That would be all of us girls. I was furious. I staged like a mini women revolutionary coup. Even then, I was like, what is with dudes in games already? I'll put that soapbox away. But since Jason's not talking about games we actually did play because he moved Magic, I was trying to think of games that were like D&D because I love the storytelling elements. I love embodying a character. So I was thinking through several different things, fantasy themed stuff. And I really think, even though it's pirate themed, I think Forgotten Waters, much like it appeals to me now, I don't even think it appeals to me as strongly as it would have then. Because yes, I would have played it for hours upon hours. I would have truly embraced my whole character backstory. I would have done voices. I probably would have put a costume on. Like, we've already established the nerdiness. And I had some nerdy friends. I don't think Jamie listens to our podcast, but she would have done it with me because we were BFFs back in middle school. She would have done it with me. And we would, she's the person I played Forgotten Waters with, I think, now. But yes, that idea of Forgotten Waters being a very light role playing, like there's some guidance to it. And even, at this age, I didn't know a ton about D&D because I wasn't really allowed to play it with anyone because they just killed off my character really fast before we could even try anything. So being able to kind of have some boundaries and movement of story that were independent of some douchebag at 13 would have been great. And I would have really got into it because I love that. I really do love role playing. And I have loved it since I was a very young child. So yeah, I think Forgotten Waters would scratch the same itch as D&D then as well.
So what about, for your last one, what about Tales of Arabian Nights? How would you have felt about that when you were younger?
I considered that, but I think you don't get a lot of role playing.
Yeah, that's
It's
true.
more like
That's
reading a
true.
choose your own adventure book, which I did like. I did like that, but if the opportunity to have like the really colorful artwork, to make up a whole character backstory, to like get loot and stuff, I think I would have loved that probably more than just getting cards and like you choose 1, 2, or 3.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Just curious. I was just wondering.
I don't know. I mean, that I consider that one also. It's in a similar vein. So those are the games that really we think. I mean, we don't know. And even if we could go back, would our younger selves listen to us? No. I don't think so. I would have.
No. Well, we didn't have podcast technology back then.
Well, I know, but I mean, I'm just saying. Let's say we got into a time machine. The DeLorean shows up and we hop in it. Younger Katie would have been like, what? I'm going to read my book. I'm going to watch Backstreet Boy videos.
I would have been playing Risk.
So we want to know, like, what about you guys? Now you know a little bit more about, like, our younger, like, junior high-ish, maybe middle year selves. What kind of games do you think, man, younger me probably would have loved this? Tell us in our socials. I do try to check out the hashtag The Riveted, our Facebook group, which is the best place, safe space. I will call you out on The Riveted if you're acting a fool, and Jason will just basically boot you or something or warn you.
Yeah, I muted somebody because it wasn't even really bad, but we don't want any of that in our group. So
yes.
Moving on.
So I will check when people post that. So if you want to post in there and tell me what games you yourself like, if you post in our other socials, Jason will tell me what it says because he sees those and I don't because I'm a boomer when it comes to technology. But I do want to know, like, I think it's a really cool way to get to know our listeners and what you would have liked then, and just to learn a little bit more about you and cool games that might, and maybe even, especially if they're different from the games you like now. Like what kind of games do you like? Would you have liked then maybe that your now self is like, yeah, no thanks. I want to know.
Risk for me.
Oh gosh, yes, woof. That was a no then, it's a no now.
Yeah, that would be interesting to hear. What games did you play the mess out of when you were younger that now you look back on, you're like, ugh, if I even see that game, I'm going to like throw up on it or something. Yeah, that'd be interesting to hear.
I don't know. I mostly played cards.
It was Risk and Magic the Gathering for me. And
Monopoly. I
played a lot of that.
Phase 10. Uno.
Ugh. Uno's
Yeah.
all right. I'd still play Uno.
No.
No, I play Simon's Cat instead because it's better.
It is better. It is. Okay, that's all I have. I mean, now y'all know. I was an English nerd then. I'm an English nerd now.
Yeah, and I was a loser with no friends. And, yeah.
You're like the Dolphins head coach.
Yeah, the Dolphins head coach. Yep, that's true. Oh, that's funny.
Sorry, I don't know if anyone else got that joke, but...
There was a meme with him that said, all I ever wanted was a girl to get to know me and marry me. Everything else is just icing on the cake. Which is pretty awesome.
That's not
something
what
like
you
that.
told me.
It was something like that. I don't remember what he said.
Oh my gosh. You've completely ruined it. Now it seems not funny at all, and like, why did I even mention it? Jason told me that he said he's a grown man who likes to play with Legos, but he got a woman to fall in love with him and marry him. So,
Oh, yeah, that's right. It was the Lego thing. You're right.
winning a game like 70 with 70 points is just icing on the cake.
That's right. I forgot it was the Lego thing. That's true.
Just look it up because Jason's ruined it for everyone now.
Yeah, I ruined it. Sorry. I mean, you should expect it. It's fine.
I know. What a way to end the podcast.
Yeah. Ended it on a high note. That's what we
Thank
do.
goodness we're only pretty okay.
Yep.
Well, I've been Katie.
And I'm Jason.
Keep gaming, everybody.
Keep gaming.
I meant to talk about how I got really snippy with somebody online, and they told me that all my listeners need to know how like combative and sarcastic I am. I think they know, right?